Hello. Today we're gonna have a pretty laid back video because this week I have been both physically and emotionally unwell. You can probably hear I'm getting over a cold right now. I've got my mug of tea ready to go though. But mostly I wanted to take a step back because it's about that time when most of the beauty content on your feed is about what to buy during the Sephora sale and new holiday makeup kits. And I wanted to slow down and actually revisit makeup that I've already shown you to provide updated reviews. I feel like these days, so much of the beauty content online is about moving on to the next new thing instead of revisiting and reusing the products that we've already recommended to you. So I want to share my current opinion on these products that I've already shown you and maybe even help you rediscover products that you already have in your makeup drawers and inspire you to get them out again. Let's dive in, but first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Miranda. This channel is dedicated to budget beauty. If that sounds like your vibe, hit subscribe. The first product I want to update you on is the AOA Studio Brush On Concealer. This is still relatively new to my collection. I got it during my last Shop Miss A haul, which was only a few months ago, but this has become my go-to concealer even over the LA Girl concealer, which used to be one of my holy grails, because frankly, this shade, which is M1, matches me better. And with the LA Girl concealers, I was mixing two shades to match me. Plus the coverage and wear time is just so similar to the LA Girl concealers. And even though those are still only like $5, I'd rather repurchase this one at $1.88. It is so blendable, and I've actually really enjoyed using this just to spot conceal and then skip foundation because, like I said, once it sets, it's really imperceptible on the skin. It has a natural skin finish. And I was doing that a lot toward the end of summer, which is when I discovered this because it allowed me to really achieve this even skin look without putting a full layer of makeup on. Now, even though I was able to find a shade that matches me nearly perfectly, my main complaint with this concealer is that the shade range is limited. I think that they could do way more to fill in those medium, tan, and deep shades. I just feel like it goes from like light to light medium to deep. But if it looks like there is a shade that's close to your skin tone, it's definitely worth adding to your next haul just to try because it's less than $2. And hopefully if it becomes more popular, they'll add more shades because the formula is just great. Now my poor little nosy is so red. I use the lotion Kleenexes, which are supposed to be softer on your nose, but still my nose gets chapped. So I'm just gonna put a light layer there to help with the redness. I'm using my Sigma Soft Angled Concealer Brush, which has been my favorite brush to conceal with. You can see it's got this angled shape, and the bristles are just so soft. It blends out cream and liquid products beautifully. And don't forget, I do have a Sigma code and it stacks with sales. Okay, see what I mean? I would be totally fine not putting a foundation over this, but I do have a foundation to update you on, so we'll move on. First, I am going to brighten my under eyes with the Milani Under Eye Brightener though, because I think just with me being sick, they're looking awfully dark. I use the shade Melon in this, and it's perfect for getting rid of those shadows. Now, some of the products that I'll mention today, I may not have talked about before in a full-length YouTube video, but I've been mentioning them in YouTube Shorts or on Instagram, and this is one of those products. This is the About Face, the Performer Skin Focused Foundation. So this foundation is $22, and I originally started testing it out when I found out that I'd be going to a music festival with the About Face brand. First off, the color range for this product is very impressive. They have warm, cool, neutral, and olive options. Right now I'm wearing the shade LM1 Warm because I still have that goldenness from my end of summer tan. But something to keep in mind when you're swatching in store, the shades do dry down a little bit darker and differently than they look first swatched. So I was literally at the end cap for maybe 30 minutes swatching all of the shades and seeing which one matched me the best once it was dry. So this is like a serum foundation. It's got medium buildable coverage and it's very liquidy. It feels weightless as you wear it. It is also vegan and cruelty free, and it has moisturizing and skin balancing ingredients. So when I found out that I was going to this music festival, which was the When We Were Young festival here in Las Vegas, I had done a couple like 10-ish hour wear tests with this foundation because I really wanted to see like, is this gonna last me? And it did, but obviously those were were not as extreme wear tests as like going to a festival. It was me just like running errands. But when it came to the actual music festival, it lasted 15 hours on me and still looked very decent at the end of the night, which was technically the next morning. It hung in there through hours of dancing and jumping and waiting in line for merch. And there were a few times where I was getting pretty sweaty, even though it was like the end of October. The sun was out, there were so many people, we were drinking. You can watch my full makeup routine and makeup wear test for this festival in my YouTube shorts if you're interested in seeing like the before and after. Really, I only lost a little bit of coverage, but overall, my makeup stayed very even and the makeup on top stayed even looking as well. And it was just comfortable to wear. I also feel like it makes my skin look very smooth, and because it has this natural skin-like finish, it just looks like that's my skin. I would say this is definitely more of a satin finish foundation. It does not read too glowy or dewy on me, but you do get like a little bit of radiance. Now, because this is sort of like a skincare foundation, I usually don't wear a primer with this. I'll set it, but I'll only wear like my moisturizer or moisturizer SPF underneath it. But if you feel like you must wear a primer underneath, maybe you're super oily, I would recommend a silicone-free primer because this is water-based. So if you use something with a ton of silicones underneath it, this might break up and separate on top. So for example, the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer could pair with it well, or even using the Milani Make It Last spray as a priming step as well as a setting step, you can do that. This is actually the spray that I used on top of it for the festival. But here's how it looks. I think it's just so natural on the skin. It's great for either no makeup days, or if you just want a lighter base for a full makeup routine. The only thing I don't like is honestly the doe foot applicator. I wish that it was a pump product, only because I feel like it's difficult to get the applicator out of this glass bottle. Like I'm always kind of pulling a little hard, and I feel like I'm always flinging foundation out of the bottle when I pull this out. I'm gonna quickly fill in my brows with the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer Pencil. Still the closest pencil that I've found to my holy grail, which is the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, but still not a dupe. I feel like that brow pencil is undupable, which is why I justify purchasing it. Although that Benefit pencil is usually included in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale, so it's easy to get like stock up and get it on sale. The next product I want to update you on is the e.l.f. Brow Lift Brow Gel. So I started using this at the end of 2022, and despite really liking the formula, I stopped using it shortly after that. And this is my original jar. You can see I was definitely using it. You can see those spoolie marks. This was actually strong enough to hold my thick, stubborn brows in place all day, and it didn't make my brows look shiny, which I loved. It seems like every time I find a strong enough brow gel for my brows, it creates this shiny cast over them, which this did not. So if I loved it so much, why did I stop using it? Because I realized that jar packaging for brow gel is not for me. I do have the official e.l.f. Brow Lift applicator, and even though you can bend the spoolie on this so that you can get like into the jar as the amount of product goes down, I feel like it just becomes less convenient to use. Because when this was totally full, I would have my spoolie straight and like swirl it in the gel, and now that it's down and I need to kind of more do a dip dab, I'm not coating the spoolie evenly, so I'm getting more of a globby application, if that makes sense. And in general, I'm not so much of a fan of needing two different products and juggling an extra brush to get my brows done, especially because this gel will now harden on this brush if I don't clean it off right away, or at least clean it between every like 2 uses, versus if I was using like a brow gel that comes in a tube with a spoolie applicator, I don't have to worry about that. But I mean, look at how much lift I'm actually getting on my brows. This is much more than I would get with any other brow gel, and I'm realizing now, because this is actually providing lift, I need to trim my brows. And like I mentioned, this is my original 2022 jar, and it hasn't dried out. So, I mean, really great formula. I don't know, the little inconvenience of using the extra brush and having to adapt to the levels changing in the jar just wasn't for me. I think now that I've rediscovered this, and because it's not dried out, I am really going to try to use it up, but I'm also gonna need to keep up on washing my brushes, or washing this brush at least. But if you have any tips on, I don't know, making jar brow gels a little more convenient to use, let me know, because I'd really like to start using this regularly again. I think also, on another point, this is a little cumbersome for travel versus just a brow gel in a tube, but I will say the results are so nice and fluffy. I'm gonna prep my eyes for shadow with the Profusion Pigment Base. Now I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Profusion as a brand, super underrated. I am still discovering new stuff that I really like from them, and one of them has been this pigment base, using it as an eyeshadow primer. I've also used it to cut my crease, and it worked really well for that as well. This is so good, and I think it's like less than $4 at Walmart. In fact, this is actually a mini size that I got in one of their like makeup value kits. I can't imagine how long the full size will last you, because less than a pea-sized amount is more than enough for both eyes. I will say though that it is best to completely set it with a thin layer of powder or eyeshadow before you start working on your eye look. I find that if I don't set it before I start my whole eyeshadow look, then I'll get a little bit of creasing in the innermost corner of my eye. But as long as I set it, either with setting powder or like a sheer layer of eyeshadow, then my eyeshadow doesn't budge. Let's talk about the ColourPop 1111 palette. So I unboxed this and tried it for the first time last October. So it's been over a year, and IRL, behind the scenes, offline, this has become my most used ColourPop palette, and maybe even my most used neutral palette in general. The brand calls this a warm neutral palette, but in my opinion, this is very well balanced with cool tones as well. Like we have this taupey purple called Perfect Harmony. There is this dusty kind of beigey mauve called Lucky Babe. We have a dark silver called Major Change. But then we have the coppers, the golds, the warm browns. So I think this is a very well balanced palette, which is also why it's become the one that I travel with the most. I've also worn this in weddings as a bridesmaid or to weddings as a guest. It gives me just enough shade options without me feeling limited to doing only like 1 to 2 looks. You can definitely go glam, you can go subtle. I really like this palette. So like I said, let's set this primer with a thin layer of eyeshadow first. I'm gonna do that with Good Thoughts, which is this warm beige. Just really thin. I'm not really trying to pack on the color here. I'm gonna go into Protection, which is a cooler toned mauve. I feel like I should keep my eyes on the lighter side today, just because I already feel like they kind of look heavy from being sick. Maybe this will double as a makeup tutorial for when you're sick and need to just get put together for whatever reason. Frankly, I just don't have time to be sick right now, so I'm in denial. Next, I will go into that Perfect Harmony shade, which was this purpley taupe, and that'll be my outer corner shade, though I'm not gonna build it up to be too dark. So I'm just blending a little bit more of that pink Protection shade at the edges to help diffuse this out. I will be putting Balanced on my lid, which is this metallic frosty pink. Let's see, I might want to go in with my finger, but let's try with a brush first. Yeah, with a brush, this definitely stays more subtle, so I think I'm gonna keep it like that. But when you want this to be more of a metallic look, if you apply it with your fingers, you get that more solid, reflective type look. Since I said that the plan was to keep the makeup subtle today, that's what I'll do. I'm just blending that lid shade and the outer corner shade together. And then finally, I'm gonna dip into Divine, which is actually a shimmery, cool, deep, deep brown. And I'll use that as a shadow liner. Staying pretty close to my lash line, but this will be slightly smoky. So here is the finished eyeshadow, an example of a more subtle, cool toned look you can get with the 1111 palette. And again, out of all of my ColourPop palettes, both the 30 pan large palettes and the 9 pan ones, this is my most used from the brand. I'm gonna tightline my upper waterline with the ColourPop BFF Cream Gel Liner in Brouhaha. Next up, I have another e.l.f. makeup review update for their Lash Extender mascara. So this is a tubing mascara, and after I tested it in a wear test video for the first time in summer, it became a go-to. It gives a very clean look, it separates my lashes, it gives a really good amount of length that you can build on. And even though this is so easy to remove at the end of the day with just warm water, it is extremely budge proof as you wear it, and it does hold up even against sweat. So let me zoom you back in. So here is a little before and after, and don't look at my nose, it is like chapped in red. But it indeed extends my lashes. Now, two things that I mentioned in my first impression review that I do want to reiterate now that I've been wearing this like 2 to 3 times a week since June. If you build this up too much, you may experience very subtle flaking. Now, it's still a lot less than the Milani tubing mascara. With that one, I get like really big flakes and a lot of them. With this one, maybe it's like 1 to 2 really small ones. And the way that I have avoided that is working one eye at a time and not letting the mascara dry before I go back in and like build it up. So kind of working quickly, I guess, long story short. You want the formula to stay wet as you build up the length. Now, the second thing is I definitely lose curl with this mascara, and you might have noticed that I like really crimped my lashes up like vertically before putting this on. And I really have to do that with this mascara because even when I so dramatically crimp my lashes, they end up falling to about here. And that is regardless of whether or not I build up the mascara on my lashes. Even when I keep it a pretty thin layer, it does this as well. And I will admit that I have very straight lashes, like they are almost downturned when I don't curl them, but I do prefer that lifted look, and I don't get that with this mascara. But it's just such an easy mascara overall, and it's easy to put on. It's so budge proof, it's easy to take off, that I still like using it, and I will take that disadvantage with it. Last time I mentioned this, I got a few comments saying that some people curl their lashes after putting this on, and I have tried that technique and it does not work for me. Maybe it's just my curler, but when I do that, I can see it like separating the tube layer so that there's just like a crimp of missing product along my lashes. So my best strategy has been to just crimp my lashes as far back as they can go and then put this on. Finishing up my face makeup, I'm gonna use the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Contour Wand. I really like this, although I don't like, and this is not just a Physicians Formula thing, I'm not a fan of these like wands with the sponges. Especially when they have these like turn to open contraptions, I feel like they just get messy. But out of all of the wand contour bronzing sticks at the drugstore, this has been my most used. Not only because I prefer the shade, but I just feel like it's the most blendable. I use this in the light shade because the medium one was a little bit warm on me. This shade is just neutral enough for me to be able to contour properly with it. Contour and bronzer, but it just blends so nicely. I am almost out of it. And despite this being called Butter Glow, I don't find this to be a very glowy formula, which I prefer for a product that I'm using to contour with. Contour should not be glowy. For my blush today, I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush in Suave Mauve. I'm gonna mix it slightly with the About Face foundation. I find that this makes it a little easier to blend into the face. Just mix a little bit of your foundation with it. See, still so much pigment, but you can work with it in more buildable layers like that, because I feel like the #1 complaint with those liquid blushes was that they were almost too pigmented, that people weren't really able to blend them out. So that's my little trick to making them a little bit more foolproof. And keep in mind, this is a very thin foundation. That's about how much I'm mixing together on the back of my hand. And then my old trusty Glazy highlight from ColourPop. Y'all are so tired of hearing me talk about this, but it is still my go-to highlighter. I have not found a cream or liquid highlighter that I like using more than this one. So you're gonna hear about it. And really, isn't that what we really want to learn from content creators and beauty influencers. Like, what are the products that they keep using regardless of new releases? This is it for me. I'm also gonna put that under my brow bone and in my inner corner. All right, let's talk about lip stains. So a few months ago, I posted it on YouTube Shorts as well as my Instagram and TikTok. I tried these Sachu Beauty lip liner stains. These went incredibly viral. They're the ones where you paint on, they look dark, and then you peel them off to reveal a very long-lasting stain. At first, before I tried them, I thought they were super gimmicky, and then I tried them and I was like, oh, okay. And now I'm wearing them constantly under glosses and lip oils to give a long-lasting color base to these products that might wear off a little bit more quickly. I have the bestseller bundle. These are usually, I think, $12 by themselves, but you can get all three for $30. And I'm gonna use Pinked today. This is my most used shade. Now I will say, you should exfoliate or have moisturized lips ahead of using these. They will catch on any chapped texture that you have. Also, as they dry, keep your mouth slightly open, otherwise your corners won't dry and the stain will be uneven. So here goes nothing. I can't really talk once this is applied, so that's why I gave my spiel ahead of time. So you want this to be kind of a thick but even layer. If it looks patchy wet, it will look patchy stained. All right, 10 minutes. I'll yak. We're back. Okay, so this is dry. I'm gonna go ahead and just stretch my mouth. You can see that it's already popping off my lips. Grab an edge and peel off. Now, anywhere that stayed a little too wet is gonna look dark at first. So the innermost portion, don't be concerned. I'm just gonna take a makeup wipe and go over that area and get the excess, because you can even see some of it ended up on my teeth. It was a little hard for me to keep my mouth all the way open because I'm sick. My throat was hurting. Going over that with a wipe until it looks even. That top lip looks great. I love that color. So I think I'll top it off today with the Milani Fruit Fetish Lip Oil in Lychee Nectar, which is a mauve shade. Now, speaking of Milani, I do want to give an honorable mention to their Color Fetish lip stains because I have been wearing these a lot recently as well, but these serve a different purpose in my collection and routine versus the Sachu lip stains. With these lip stains, you're getting the stain and the glossy top layer all in one. You don't need to be juggling different products. But long story short, these are great when I want to streamline my routine and kind of get that all-in-one experience, whereas the Sachu ones are great for lip combos if I'm gonna be lining my lips and then filling in with something else, or if I want that longer lasting base underneath the gloss. Sometimes I put the Sachu ones on and then I'll just use chapstick throughout the day too. You know, now that I think about it, this conversation is sort of inspiring me to do a battle of the budget-friendly lip stains video, because I also have in my collection the e.l.f. lip stains, the ColourPop lip stains, and the Peri Para lip stains that are really popular on Amazon. So it'd be interesting to compare them all. Let me know if that's something you want to see in the comments. So that's it from me this week. I am not even gonna bother with my hair because after this, I'm gonna switch back into my jammies and just be a snot ball. But let me know if you liked this type of makeup review update video, if you would like more in the future, and if so, what other products have I mentioned that you would like an update on? Tell me in the comments. Thanks so much for spending time with me today and putting up with my sick voice. If you want to keep watching, join me over in this video next where I try the brand Kaleidos for the first time. It's basically 24 minutes of me being stunned by their products. I'll see you over there. Bye!